Transgenic salmon, Frankenfish, or faster food? Is the Mediterranean diet falling like Rome? Europe braces for serious crop losses and blackouts. And this week's numbers from the USDA. It's Food News Friday. I'm Chef Todd Moore. My mission is empowering people to cook without recipes. They experience the freedom to cook what they want, how they want it, the confidence to take control and try new things, the health benefits of fresh, wholesome foods, and the family-strengthening bonds of dinner time together, as well as the money they save by eating well. Live without rules, cook without recipes. It's a no-recipe lifestyle. AquaBounty Technologies Company is in a battle with the U.S. Senate over genetically modified salmon. Their Aqua Advantage Atlantic salmon includes a gene from the faster-growing Pacific Chinook salmon, which enables it to reach maturity twice as fast as the standard Atlantic salmon and thus consume less feed. The reduced production costs mean the fish could be reared inland in tanks in the U.S., reducing transport costs and carbon emissions, said AquaBounty's chief executive Ronald Stadish. The transgenic fish were biologically and chemically indistinguishable from standard Atlantic salmon, but they simply grew faster, claimed Stadish, after a group of senators and congressmen wrote to the Food and Drug Administration calling on it to cease the approval process. Senator Mark Begich warns that the fish could disseminate wild salmon populations, and he adds, quote, "We don't need Frankenfish threatening our fish populations and the coastal communities that rely on them." Elaine Watson has the complete story at foodqualitynews.com. In nutrition news, Mediterraneans are abandoning their famous diet. Italians, Greeks, Spaniards, they're all getting heavier, in spite of the fact that their countries are home to the Mediterranean diet, a diet rich in vegetables, legumes, fruits, nuts, and healthy fats. Young people in particular are moving toward an industrial diet, rich in meats, starches, refined carbohydrates, sugars, and other processed foods, according to a July 14th NPR story. The result? Well, in Italy, more than a third of the 12 to 16-year-olds are now overweight or obese. In Greece, people are eating roughly 4 times the meat they were in the 1950s. Part of this global problem is that the global industrial diet of meat, fat, and sugar is cheap, whereas healthy peasant food is not. This is from the National Public Radio. Commenting on the increase, Harvard School of Public Health nutrition expert Walter Willett, who helped popularize the Mediterranean diet in the U.S. in the early 1990s, says that there's no match for the huge marketing efforts and promotion of junk food, and we have to protect our children. The complete story and the link to the NPR broadcast at the Harvard School of Public Health website. A record dry spring and summer could drive up wheat prices, and lack of water may force nuclear reactors to shut down in France. One of the driest seasons on record in Northern Europe has sucked soils dry and sharply reduced river levels to a point that governments are starting to fear crop losses. And France in particular is bracing for blackouts as its river-cooled nuclear power plants may be forced to shut down. French Agriculture Minister Bruno Le Maire warned this week that the warmest and driest spring and summer in half a century could slash wheat yields and might even push up world prices. France has pledged hundreds of millions of euros in aid to its drought-stricken livestock farmers who have watched feed supplies dwindle and prices rise. Water restrictions are in place in more than half the country's administrative regions and departments. The French government has also set up a committee to keep an eye on the country's electricity supply situation and monitor river levels, as 44 of the 58 nuclear reactors that supply 80% of France's electricity are cooled by river water. And the problem appears not to be that the reactors might overheat because of a lack of water. The problem is that the depleted rivers might overheat when the water returns to them after being cooled in the reactors. This could create potential ecological havoc. You can read The Future of the U.S. with what's going on in France. It's by Jeremy Lovell on scientificamerican.com. Let's go to the numbers from the USDA. June milk production is up 1.4%. Milk production in the 23 major states that produce milk totaled 15.4 billion pounds, up 1.4% from June 2010. Production per cow averaged just over 1,800 pounds. That's 2 pounds above June 2010. Every cow in the U.S. puts out about 1,800 pounds of milk. The number of milk cows on farms was 8.5 million head. That's 106,000 cows more than a year ago. Even with a current movement in the media that says humans don't need dairy, record amounts of milk are being consumed. Quickly, headlines around the world. Agriculture report. Canada rapeseed planting area is down 300,000 acres. That's 4% down from last month. The downward revision in this projection is due to prolonged planting delays caused by persistent rainfall and waterlogged conditions. Ironically, the European Union has downgraded its rapeseed predictions a full 6% because of the ongoing drought. 80% of the world's cooking oils come from rapeseed. You know it as canola. So look for cooking oil prices to increase soon. Brazil's soybean crop is having a record year, and the Brazilians will harvest about 75 million tons of soybeans. That's up 2% from last year. Maybe we'll all be cooking with soybean oil pretty soon. China is growing more and more corn. The USDA predicts that the Chinese will harvest a record 178 million tons. That's up 5% from the previous year. But at the same time, drought in many parts of China have delayed rice planting, pushing yield predictions down 1% for the coming year. Again, unfavorable weather is to blame for poor cotton crops in the U.S., which now sees India producing more cotton than we do. Get all the information at USDA.gov, and for food news during the week, follow Chef Todd Moore on Facebook and Twitter, and live a no-recipe lifestyle.